Welcome back, everyone, to Jess Klein's Big Table. Before we get into the meat of this very special episode, I want to thank all of you who have tuned in to this inaugural season of Jess Klein's Big Table. Hosting a podcast has been an experiment for me, and it's been incredible to get to speak to the guests that I've spoken with and to share those folks with you. My guest from late November, Aminata Desert Rose Plantwalker Firewoman, told me that podcasting is really about building community. And I'm experiencing that with these guests and with you. And I want you to know how much I appreciate you being part of this. Community is so important. And my belief is that it is the most important thing for us to build as we move into the unknowns of the upcoming years. After this episode, I'll be taking a break for the holidays, and we'll be back with more Jess Klein's Big Table in February 2025. So my guest this week is the one and only Erin McKeown. Erin and I met in the late 90s in the Northeast songwriter scene and went on to be two parts of what some would call a folk supergroup back in the early 2000s known as Voices on the Verge. Voices was a loose collective of four songwriters, Erin, Beth Amsell, Rose Polenzani, and me. It started off as an experiment imagined by our shared manager, who is also responsible for the questionable name. On stage together, we would add coven-like harmonies to each other's tunes. Erin would play tasty electric guitar licks, and I would occasionally add clarinet. The combination of our voices and styles was off-kilter, improvisational, and at moments really powerful. People liked it, so we recorded a live album together, live in Philadephia. You can read more about some of my memories from the tour we did for that album and such in my Substack. By the way, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my Substack. That's how I let you know what I'm up to. I share longer pieces of writing. I get to talk to you in a way that does not depend on social media, and I'm really interested in building community on Substack. I think it's a lot more possible to do that there. I just kind of over it with the social media. Anyway, my Substack, just go to Substack and it's Jess Klein. Okay, over the last 20 years, Erin McKeown has performed around the world, released 11 full-length albums, and written for film, television, and theater. Erin's first musical, Miss You Like Hell, written with Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Chiara Allegria Hudes, opened off-Broadway at the Public Theater in 2018. It was nominated for 5 Drama Desk Awards, including Best Lyrics, Best Music, and Best Orchestrations, and the Wall Street Journal named it Best Musical of 2018. Erin has also been a professor of the practice at Brown University and a fellow at the University of Chicago's Gray Center for Arts and Inquiry. Amazing. Okay. Erin is always deliciously irreverent, and I love them so much. They always reappear in my life when there's something I need to be reminded of. To me, they are like a playful spirit who emerges from the woods to help me course correct, then returns back through the woods and out the other side, transformed back into the rock star they are, with thick black coal lining their eyes, wielding their guitar and wit, walking into the stage door of some theater, ready to shake some shit up on stage. So before the conversation, you'll hear a clip of Erin's tune Blackbirds from that Voices on the Verge Live in Philadephia album. And then at the end of the episode, stay tuned because you'll get to hear Erin's song, The 12 Crises of Christmas, which I really love, off their second anti-holiday album, Fuck You Too, which just came out recently. All right, without further ado, I give you a very silly and very wonderful conversation with my beloved friend, Erin McKeown.
Four and 20 blackbirds perched on the millhouse floor. 4 and 20 blackbirds perched on the millhouse floor. Watching a pair of blackbirds more. 4 and 20 blackbirds perched on the millhouse floor. So one blackbird to the other, you must be my queen. So one blackbird to the other says, you must be my queen. The other replied in turn, well, sure enough, you're my king. 4 and 20 blackbirds and 2 began to sing. queen, she sang of a mill house rising to the sky. The king, he sang of riches baked in a honey pie. Stick your finger in and taste it on the sly. Sing a song of sixpence and a pocket full of rye. Now the queen, she asked that question, what makes a mill house rare? The king replied in turn, well, tonight it's you so fair. 24 blackbirds to bake themselves to care. Fly away, you dainty dish. The 2 blackbirds flew upstairs.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Should we? What? Okay. We're both here.
Yeah.
And this is Jess, and I'm talking to my very dear, very longtime friend, Erin McKeown.
Yeah, and this is Erin, and I'm talking to my dear old friend, Jess Klein. And we, like everyone else, have podcasts these days. Jess is called Jess Klein's Big Table, and mine is called Erin McKeown's Facts of Life. And we thought it'd be fun to do a crossover episode, but we have somewhat of a plan, but we are going to wing the beginning, I think.
Yeah. I've been, speaking of winging things, I've been really into trying not to be too I've been really into improvisation on stage, you know?
Do you mean in like the arrangements of your songs, what you're saying in between, how you're setting things up?
Definitely what I'm saying in between. Like at some point, I used to get so freaked out about trying to say the right thing in between. And then at some point I was like, this is so ridiculous. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to like open my mouth and see what ridiculous stuff comes out. And it was really freeing.
Did you find that could you discern any difference in the relationship with the audience when you did that?
I think so. Because I was just having so much more fun that it just felt like, I mean, I hope they are too. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, because after a song you can be like, are we having fun?
Yeah. It just feels so much more like I'm just here with you. I'm not trying to be something or like come across some way. I just showed up with what I have today, and I'm gonna like it was like a switch between I have something to prove and what can I offer, I think.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. This was literally the subject of my therapy session this week.
Really?
Yeah, something had come up. It's too long a story for now, but something had come up around about like vulnerability on stage, and how that was tying into something I was working on that has nothing to do with being on stage. Of course, it has everything to do with being on stage. But anyway, something that was like more of a normal therapeutic topic. And then it was coming up around, I recently played a show with Patty Larkin. And Patty, who's like, I would probably say for both of us, like an early influence, and if not an influence, like someone that we looked up to.
For sure.
As like younger singer-songwriters, especially in the Northeast. She had an accident a couple years ago where she fell in a like darkened room on the top of her head and became paralyzed. And it wasn't clear that she would walk again. And if she could walk, it was definitely like maybe not going to play instruments again. Wow. And she's, you know, she's not young. And so this was like a big deal, and she's like come back, you know. She is who she is after this accident, so she's not the Patty Larkin that you would have seen 5 years ago, but she is Patty Larkin now, and she just sort of addressed it head on with the audience, who most of them knew that story, but there was something that happened with the audience when she was just like straightforward. She wasn't like asking for pity, or she wasn't like milking anything. She just was like, look, this is what happened. I didn't think I could play. Here I am. And the thing that happened between her and the audience around that was so like profound. And I was trying to think about like what that, not like, well, can I have an accident and then talk about it? but like, could I like, is there some way that I could go on stage without that something to prove, or without like a hard edge, or without like this plan? Because like somewhat of my stage persona over the year has been like someone who's like very in control, you know, and like a kind of soft dominatrix, like a thing of like you're gonna sing now and you're gonna feel this way, and little Vegas, little like magic trick guy at the birthday party, you know what I mean? So thinking about trying to undo that, and thinking about, you know, Patty was given a life situation that just undoes that. But like, how could I, similar to what you're saying, like, how can I just go on stage with like an offering instead of like a plan?
Have you had a chance to give it a shot?
Yeah, I've had 2 shows since that Patty Larkin show. And it's been better. I've definitely like, what's hard for me is doing a show after a good show. So like the first one was really great, right? It was like in Chicago, it was at Space, which is a great space, and I you know, had a nice time there, and I hadn't played there in a long time, and it was just great. And I said funny things that set up the song, and they were sort of new because I was trying to be vulnerable, and like it wasn't a plan. But then the next night, or you know, a few days later, I'm here in Northampton at the Iron Horse, and I'm setting up the same song, and I want to say the same thing that got like such a great laugh in Chicago. And I don't know how to execute that with the same vulnerability. And at the same time, like, am I reinventing the wheel every night? Should I? So I think that's where I'm at with it. Like, it was great. It was like a discernible difference. The second half of both of those shows were my anti-holiday spectacular. And that gets 10 people on stage who've never been on stage before, and gets like people wearing their terrible Christmas sweaters. They come up as the cranky chorus, and I've never met them, and they've never met each other, and they just get up and we have this hymnal, and they just like sing funny shit. And so that just takes care of all the stuff we're talking about.
Right.
You know, because it's like leaving the mute button off. It's like being on stage with a dog or a kid. Like, it's just real.
Yeah.
So that's also been there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was just had like a million thoughts go through my head. I was like thinking about this. I took some acting classes when I was living in Austin, and I loved it so much. And I remember this one thing my teacher was telling us about, who was the director that directed The Pianist? It's like some famous director.
Oh, The Pianist or The Piano?
The Pianist.
The one about Adrian Brody and Roland. I can't remember.
Yeah. But she was saying that this director was like, okay, run like he would just throw like random things to try, you know, and it was like, okay, you're trying to escape the situation. Okay, now there's like a unicorn with 3 feet running at you. Like, it was just like a different element that you couldn't have predicted. And yeah.
Oh, that's so great. I'm so in admiration of you for taking an acting class. Like, I've always wanted to do that, and have found the idea of it completely terrifying.
Really?
Less so now. Like, I have lost my respect for actors in the same way.
After working with so many, you're
working
like,
with so many of them for the last decade, or 75% of them. There's still like 25% that are doing something that is beyond my understanding and skill level, and is truly magic and a true like alchemy, like a talent of something that I just like remain in awe of. But anyway, I'd always wanted to do something like that, and just like felt scared.
Wow, I'm surprised I'm surprised with all your like theater roots and
I know
accomplishments.
I've always loved theater, but I just couldn't. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. This is going to be a good journey for you. I mean, maybe this podcast, I meant the like.
I wish you well on your journey.
Yes, on your journey. I light a candle for you.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. And I will journal about my journey. I made a suggestion for Jess ahead of time, which Jess agreed to, which was, I was like, okay, let's come up with 3 questions. And then we'll, in the spirit of like improv and like not knowing what's going to happen, Jess will like pick a number and I'll ask that question, and then vice versa. And maybe we could use them as like jumping off points for discussions, or you know, don't feel like you have to like answer the question by stating the question. Or whatever they
or like
teach,
Jeopardy,
whatever they teach you in pod school.
Yeah. I wish I had gone to pod school.
I didn't go to pod school. I went to the school of pod knocks.
Okay.
Here we are making pods.
Okay. Pods. Okay. So, do you want to pick a number, or do you want me to pick a number?
Why don't you pick a number and we'll just start there?
Okay.
1, 2, or 3.
2.
What is your relationship to the phrase 5-year plan?
Oh my God. Okay. Fuck. It's, you know what? My relationship to that is like,
yeah, if you're listening, Jess made a me.
Someone sent me some footage a month ago or something of the first time I went on tour in Japan, and it was 24 years ago.
Wow.
And it was even like, I mean, they probably had higher quality film back then, but it looked like a Super 8. It was like, was this made in like 1970? It was just really, I was like, wow.
What if they put
really
a filter on it?
They could, yeah,
they
maybe he did.
And put like 70s filter on it.
They were like, it's been so long.
Just don't recognize it if we don't put a filter on it.
I know. But I watched it and I was like, wow, I really look like I know what I'm doing in this footage. And that's not how I feel 95% of the time. I feel like I'm just following breadcrumbs. Like, and I feel like the more I do have on my wall here this like massive chart on whatever you call those big pieces of cardstock. And it has like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And then there's like categories of like pleasure and like finance and stuff. But I did that once and then kind of like was like, these timelines seem very fluid to me. So I have like a respectful but adversarial relationship with the phrase 5-year plan.
I don't know what made me think of it. I really don't. I was sort of like,
do I strike you as someone?
No, not. Why not? No. I mean, you're also very thoughtful about. You're very mindful about self-care and intention. Very intentional about like what you're doing with your music and the way it interacts with like larger culture. So there's like mindfulness and intention there, and I was just curious, really.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I have an undercurrent of like, I usually have some clarity about what I'm trying to write about. I think when you said 5-year plan, I was like, wait, is this like financial plan? That I immediately went to like, you need a financial plan. Which is, yeah. But I do tend to have a clear vibe of what I'm writing about. Like, okay, I'm channeling for this next group of songs, visioning something better than what we're living in right now, and breaking free, and what else? Yeah, like trying to be like, I want to live in something better. Do you? Like, so with
Good
that,
question.
I feel like I have a plan. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm the same. Like, I'm as I had said before, I'm making a will tomorrow, or I'm finishing my will tomorrow.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of what was on my mind, is like questions about like legacy, or like thinking about things going forward. And then 5-year plan just seems to be a little bit of a useless phrase that gets like tossed into things. But if someone's got a good use for it, please show me. You know, I'm happy to hear about that. But I do the same thing, and I'm in between visions right now. You know, I sort of like felt like I finished a cycle of things I had imagined to do, like kind of all as a piece, and I sort of need to kind of think of what like the next, who cares about the timeline, but like could I think about 3 albums that go together? Could I think about a series of plays? Could I think about one play or something, something like that? That's probably how I would think about it too. But I do have like things up on the wall too. It is helpful.
Yeah. I guess it's good to have some guide.
I like that you put pleasure on that list.
Yeah, I felt good that I did that. I was like, this is important. And
super important.
Can easily get brushed aside if it's not like, you need to make time for me.
Right. I'll take question 3.
Okay. Question 3. Okay. My questions are all, okay. I know it's probably supposed to decide in advance what question 3 was, but okay.
Yeah, that's the part where you get to just make it up.
Okay, great. I'm going with question 3. I wrote out your questions, so here
I wrote out your questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in love with your song, The 12 Crises of Christmas, from the album Fuck You Too, which is a follow-up to the original 2011 release, Fuck. Okay. I picture you having so much fun writing a song like that, and I'm thinking about how songwriting always feels so heavy and serious to me. Like something terrible is going to happen if I don't get it right. So your writing is so deliciously subversive. Where do you think you first learned to have fun with your writing?
Oh gosh, what a great question. I was way too young when I was shown Monty Python. I had this, like, my mom had like a friend from like Bridge Club or something who, her daughter was like basically my age, but lived out in the county, like so far, and we didn't go to school together. So my mom would, like, to go out to visit her friend, she'd bring me, and it was like, I don't know how long it was actually, but it felt like forever, like for a kid. And their house was like in the middle of the woods, and my house was in like a subdivision, so it was like really cool. So me and Shelley Haley would just go run off in this, like, it was probably like a 70s modern like hippie house, which was unusual where I grew up. But my mom and her friend would like go have a cup of tea or do whatever, or visit, and me and Shelley would like either run in the woods or like play in the basement. And she had an older brother like I did, and he I don't know, there was like a Monty Python tape at the house, and I was probably like, I must have been like 5 or 6, like wow, really young. But I remember watching that, and it's like so absurd and so funny, and I don't even know if I understood why it was funny, or it's funny on so many levels. Like there's some like really gnarly like British man sexy joke shit in that stuff that like I had no idea, but I thought it was funny, like a knight walking around with one leg, and I thought like watching like a man dressed up as a queen with a funny accent was funny, and I actually like think it scarred me in a good way. Like I really think there was something about that, because I didn't grow up in a household with laughter, like truly. And I didn't grow up in a household where like people, I don't know, made jokes or, you know, were loose and easy at the dinner table or things like that. It was a very like tense, quiet household. And so then to like go watch something like that just felt like, it felt naughty, it felt like freedom, and it really felt exciting compared to like where I was living. So that's probably, that's what I think it came from. But it's funny, like with the Fuck You Too songs, I was like laid up with an injury this summer, and I wasn't able to play instruments or use my upper body for like 6 weeks. And I remember when the doctors like told me that, like, and it was planned. It's like a planned thing. Yeah. And when they told me that, I was like, oh my God. And then part of me was like, thank God, what a relief. I'm gonna have to make myself play guitar because I never want to. You know, yeah. Or make myself write a song because I never want to, or whatever it is that we have to do as professionals to like keep our skills up and keep. Yeah. You know. So. But then what happened was I really started to like miss, I would like sneak playing the mandolin a little bit with my neighbor to like keep my hands in shape a little bit. But mostly I was literally just like laying on the couch, like surfing the internet. And My friend James came to visit, my old friend James, and he...
Of the song,
James of James.
Okay.
James of James came to visit, and he was staying with me for a few days and helping me, and we were watching the news, and he said something like, Kamala, ye faithful. And so then we started singing like a fake Christmas song about Kamala Harris, and I was like, wait, I already made a whole record of these, and I had a notes app in my phone for the last 14 years of ideas. So I literally just like laid on the couch and wrote them, and it is such a change from like what you're describing, like usual songwriters. And the same for me. Like I have to really make myself not take it seriously. I have to really like be like, this doesn't matter, I'm gonna make 100 fish today, and some of them are swimming, some of them are not swimming, some of them are gonna rot, and these like anti-holiday songs are just the perfect exercise in that. They're totally juvenile, they're totally full of bad puns, they're useful for like a few months of the year, and then they're gone, and it's such a good reminder to me to like wear the whole thing like a loose garment. I actually think like writing something like the 12 Crises of Christmas helped me write. There's a song in the little Fuck You Too collection that's a bit more serious and a bit more heartfelt, and I think I was only able to write that because I had just like literally like shit out 4 other like parody songs. I mean, literally, I was like laying in my little recovery bed with my thumbs going like, a fire in the living tree, Preston's new pronouns, 3 uncles joking, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's in, yeah.
Do you ever try to write funny songs?
I don't, and I do. My husband and I all the time, he has
Do you sing to your cat?
I do sing to my cat.
Yeah.
And my husband sings to the pets all the time.
Yeah.
And we'll make up songs called, he has a name for it. It's Toprica. It's like topical operas about something complete, has to be like totally mundane. Like
that's fantastic.
What the dog does on the walk.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe in a way, maybe I am getting some of that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I got this hat. Someone showed me this thing on Instagram. It's like @puppy songs, and it's this guy that just makes these songs up for his like 2 elderly chihuahuas, and I actually think one of them isn't even alive anymore, but he keeps posting about him, which is really great. But he sells these hats that say "I sing to my dog," and I just thought it was funny as like a professional musician, because I do. I mean, the songs I've made up for Carl are some of my favorites. But I wear that hat all the time, and it is like a major conversation starter, because everyone comes up to me and is like, I sing to my dog too. Yeah. And it's like, those are songs. Yeah. Those are songs. Right. Yeah. Like you're writing a song. And probably really off the cuff. Totally. And totally probably really heartfelt and probably really funny. And like you who's customer service representative at Hertz. Like you are songwriting. Yeah. Like, why not think about it that way? Yeah. I also think it's helped me talk to people that I probably would be grumpy with otherwise. Like especially after the election, I was very like conscious of like, who am I talking to in this line? Yeah. Like, who are you? What do you believe? Like, do you think I'm human? Yeah. Yeah. And then they're telling me about, their dog just died, and these were the songs they used to sing to their dog, and how it's the best thing in the world. And I'm like, do you want to see my dog? And I'm like showing them pictures on my phone, and that's not my solution to the political world, but why not? I mean, maybe it is. Like, I don't know what is. What the fuck is? But at least made me feel less scared, because I do feel like I don't even know who I'm talking to sometimes. The whole thing surprised me in the sense of I felt like I didn't know who I was talking to. Yeah, for sure. And what people believed. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have question 1 or 3? I'll take 1. Okay. As somebody who is from Rochester, but then lived and worked in Jamaica, Boston, Austin, now North Carolina, what is your experience of the connection between geography and creativity? And especially, I mean, you know me because like I am from Virginia and I do love that piece of me. I don't get to hold it very often living in New England for as long as I have, but especially your experience of the South.
Well, it's interesting because the first thing I think about is it's more of a relationship between artistic community and creativity. Like it really matters who you're surrounded by. For me, more than the geography itself, kind of. Like I didn't feel comforted by the geography of Texas. I mean, the actual like literal landscape is pretty harsh. But because my community there was so tight knit and creative and like it was just right there, like I couldn't like leave my house without running into other artists that I admired. I have like such a fondness for that place. And then when we moved here, it's so lush. I think moving here was actually like one of the first times I did write an album called Back to My Green because it was so like lush when we moved here. And I was like, this feels soft. And people like the general tone of the conversation with the person at the supermarket here tends to be pretty like the cashier will ask you how you're doing and really want an answer. Like it's not like, hey, how are you? Like scan. It's like,
oh,
well,
like New England.
It's like, yeah. It's like, well, my uncle,
right.
He had to go back for that surgery, and there's a sweetness to that. And I guess, for us, for my husband and I, when we moved here, part of what we liked about this area in particular was that we knew some people here, and we knew there was like a really established like protest scene here, we were more familiar with the history of like civil rights movement, for example, here than in Texas, and that could have been our lack of awareness. But we saw things happening like in real time. We moved here in 2016, and we saw that there were like these weekly protests at the State House.
The Moral Mondays.
Yeah. So that feels important, and it feels important. Like I feel like being someone from the Northeast and living in the Southeast, like it really gives me an appreciation for I think that there's so much cutting edge, like especially around racial justice stuff happening that's coming from here because of the history here, and so in that way it's felt more I don't know. I mean, it's like a weird combination. This is like, I guess, a quote unquote purple state or whatever, and we do live in a bubble. Like we live in a little blue bubble, but I don't know. Does that answer your question at all?
Yeah. I mean, it does. I mean, I think your point about community as opposed to necessarily geography makes a lot of sense to me. And also your point about just in terms of like where the action is.
Yeah.
As I live in a bubble too. And in 2016 my little town was kind of 51-49 Biden 51-49. Who ran in 2016? Hillary. Right. So it was blue, but like not by much.
Yeah.
Because where I live is like got a lot of old rural families and then other like people moving in. But in general, this part of Massachusetts is a bubble. But it's certainly a class bubble and a race bubble, if not politics. And, where I grew up and how I grew up, I had a much more diverse experience growing up.
Yeah.
In terms of who I was in school with and who I was, at rec with and who I was swimming with and, growing up in I don't know, just growing up where I grew up, I had a much more like racially diverse like growing up than I do have an experience as an adult, and especially in 2020 when things were bubbling the way they were bubbling. I was very aware of like, in fact, like how much more active and aware I was as a kid about this stuff than I am now about where I live. And there's some way that everyone's like, oh, South equals racist. And it's like, well, South also equals like people working against racism.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It's like it's a little bit cliche to say now, but it's like the racism is under the surface in New England, so it doesn't get dealt with, and like it's on the surface in communities that have a longer history of it, or a more violent history of it, or a more just frankly open history of it. So but I appreciate what you're saying about community. That's something that I like imagining walking out the door and running into somebody is like doesn't happen here.
Yeah. I mean, when we moved here, I spent like 2 years moping around the house and being like, I don't know any artists. And then Mike was like, you're going to have to leave the house. I was like, okay. But yeah. Community.
No, I mean, when I see your newsletter and I see like what you're doing, it feels like you're collaborating all the time with like local people and playing in like local places and like have a whole thing going in there, as well as what you've always been doing of like going different places and playing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, especially like I don't know if you've played much in Winston-Salem, but they have like a kind of cool.
Once.
Really?
Yeah, with I think I opened for Martin Sexton at some place called the Garage.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's there anymore. But like it was ages ago. But
yeah.
I played in Wilmington. Which has actually been cool, and Charlotte, and I'm trying to think of places besides the Triangle that I've played in North Carolina. I mean, or Western North Carolina.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend Winston. It's just like a really edgy kind of like art thing happening there. Like, I feel like people are like, come on. Like, it has that thing of like, I don't know. It's got like a simmering vibe of community and creativity.
Maybe gone in 5 years.
Could be, totally.
When people make a little more money or something.
I shouldn't tell anyone.
Yeah, don't tell anyone. I'll take question 2.
Okay. Okay, I'm putting on my glasses, so this is getting serious.
Okay, because I also have an eye appointment next week.
I'm sorry.
That thing happened. That thing happened where, like, just like overnight. It really, literally was like overnight.
Yeah, like it was like the morning I woke up and I was 40. I was like, now I can't read, and like now I can't see words anymore.
It probably happened to me like 5 or 6 years ago, but I've just been not dealing with it. But it got really bad. No, it got really bad like 6 months ago, and I have to do something about it. The font on my phone can't go any bigger.
I don't know if you can see this, but this is like very large.
No, that's good for you. Good for you. Own it.
Whatever. Yes. Crone energy.
Yes. Yes. My social media bios are Perry Crone. That's mine.
That's great. That's
I'm just trying to own that.
Pretty cute. Okay. Okay. Again, this is like a paragraph worth of a question. Mm-hmm. Miss you like hell. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I wrote these in this really formal way. But
it's fun to watch you try to read them.
Okay. I wrote them formally in case someone listening wasn't like familiar.
Yeah, no, that's actually like pod school.
It really?
That's like, yes, because you're supposed to be. I think the idea is that like, it's like you don't know who's listening. You want to make sure that they have all the things. I'm going to interrupt your question for 1 second to tell you a funny story.
Okay.
Like 2012, 2013, WNYC was like piloting a bunch of podcasts because it was sort of like new then, and they sort of were like, to all their staff, they were like, everybody pitch 3 or 4 podcasts and then we'll pick the best of those and we'll give you money to pilot them. And so somebody there called me and they were like, we'd love you to come and help and pilot this idea, like potentially be a host of this podcast where a musician and an athlete meet.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it was because I had been on some of their other shows and they knew how much I loved sports and this whole thing. And, I was like a good interview guest or whatever. So I went down there and like just got like thrown into it. Nobody told me how to do like an interview, and nobody told me like what you're supposed to do. So I just sort of like, I had some questions from producers, but like sort of winged it. And the person I was talking to was awesome, like a former NFL quarterback who was then about to start cornerback who was about to start Harvard Business School or whatever.
Wow.
Anyway, so I did this whole thing. We did an episode, and then afterwards they were like, "Look, we're going to give you some tips." And that was one of the things. They were like, if somebody says like just a first name, you might want to interrupt and be like, "Oh, you mean Jess Klein?"
Right.
Because who knows who's listening. Or if somebody is not laughing, like talking too long, you need to interrupt them. So you need to figure out how to interrupt them, so you can either be like, wait, can you explain that again, and redirect them?
Yeah.
Or you can laugh, or you can, like just these little like tricks. And one of them was just about thinking about like somebody listening doesn't know, this is double tough for us because we haven't talked to each other in a long time and we're old friends. So we're just gonna like inside baseball all of it without like interruption. But
I know.
But I actually think it's good, and I'll make sure to put something in my intro about that.
Okay.
Jess Klein is a singer-songwriter who.
Yeah. Okay. Miss You Like Hell. This is the musical you co-wrote with Chiara Alegria. Who does?
Chiara Alegria Hudes.
Alegria Hudes. Thank you. Okay.
And Hudes is Jewish. Everyone
Really?
like assumes that because she's mixed race that the Hudes is Hudes.
Yeah.
But it's actually her father is Jewish, and and Hudes is like his ethnic background.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
I know.
That's cool.
Alegria is a word for like little joyful spirits, which is kind of amazing. Can you imagine if your mother named you that?
No,
Like little
Mom,
joyful spirit.
Yeah. I don't need this biblical name. Come on. I want to be a little joyful spirit. Okay. I think it's so cool that the story revolves around a mother and a daughter. Mothers and daughters have such a complex relationship, and it's just so primal. When I listened to the song Mothers, it made me tear up. I'm wondering what was the process of composing for that song and for the musical in general. Like, and this is optional, did you pull on personal experience?
It's funny because when we were working on the musical, at some point it like so Chiara's like famous and has like a lot of institutional like support and interest behind her. Like she's won a Pulitzer, she's won a Tony, like that
Amazing.
opens doors.
Yeah.
And that none of that is to say like 100% artistically deserving of that, but it does change things in terms of who pays attention to what you're doing. So anyway, so we were on like a golden path of like a lot of resources and very high-end opportunities, which were really amazing. So we'd be in these marketing meetings with these like big theaters, and they'd be presenting us with like mood boards for the show art, or like how the show art would fit into their season art, and like what kind of taglines they were going to have, like a marketing department like talking to us about our show. And we were sort of just like kind of pushing back a little bit on the like squareness of the whole thing. And so we wanted the tagline for the show to be mothers, everyone's got one.
Oh my gosh.
Because that was really like how I feel about mothers in general, and Chiara was like really wanted to make sure that this story was not like frankly ghettoized into a story that like only people of Latinx heritage would be interested in, or only like undocumented issues are issues for all Americans, not just Hispanic Americans. So anyway, so the mother thing, like in good and bad ways, hung over the whole show. I mean, it is like primarily it is a lot of Chiara's experience with her mother, and the germ of the show was a play that she wrote. So I was coming into a world that she'd already built, but that was exploring these relationships. And I have an extremely complicated relationship with my mother, and I've also been estranged from my family of origin for over 15 years. So, but it doesn't mean I don't have a mother. It doesn't mean I don't consider mothers all the time. And I've also chosen not to be a mother. you know, both like biologically and also like I'm Carl's dad. Like I correct them at the vet. You know, when we go to the vet and they're like, Carl, go to your mom. I'm like, no, I'm Carl's dad.
Yeah.
They're like, it's Western Mass, but they're still like, what? Anyway, so the pain of that relationship actually really was really important. The pain and the confoundingness of it, and the dark humor of it, and the absurdity of it, and the sort of it's like I can't break it anyway. Even if I wanted to break it, I can't break it.
Yeah.
And that sort of inevitability and like the I'm trying to think of it like, but like imprisonment of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's like how do you work with that, and how do you live inside of that thing, which is, and so that Mother's Song is both acknowledging these cultural expectations of mothers, and also from inside of it being like daughters and mothers, how do we make this real? And in some ways the two characters are asking themselves these questions in this inside the prison of like mothers are supposed to do this and daughters are supposed to do that. And just trying to break that apart. And I really appreciated the chance to do that on that topic without it being my story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. I mean, I'm just thinking about that last thing you said. Like, I think that's one of the gifts of collaboration, or just like being able to bring your experience in without it having to reflect everything about your experience or be, you know.
Yeah. And I think like by the time we get to be our age, you know, I mean, I'll just speak for myself, but like, I frankly am glad that I've started to make musicals and to do theater, because I just was a little bit bored with the process of like mining my own feelings. And there are plenty of singer-songwriters who are doing amazing work that is not about like mining their feelings or is a jumping off point, and that, you know, but for me, I really needed like it to be somebody else's story in order for me to like really be able to just explore other ideas. I had a really hard time getting it out of my voice, like literally and figuratively, so I like needed somebody else to sing it. But it also, I don't know if this has happened to you before, but it's frankly just like very cool to see someone else sing your songs.
It was cool for me to watch those actors sing your songs. I was like, what? Because I watched some video of you singing them, and then I just to watch someone else embody. I mean, it's incredible.
It's a very interesting, and their skill sets, you know, jokes about actors aside, but like when you or I, or even just I sing a song, I'm thinking maybe about time. I'm thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm thinking about, change to the chord here, or like this melody is going to go up and then it's going to go down. And I don't know what that actor is thinking, because sometimes I would say to them, can you go back to the verse? And they're like, what? Or like, I was like, can you count the rest between this line and this line is 6 beats.
Yeah.
So can you sing that line, then count to 6, and then sing another line? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Why would I think about it like that?
Yeah.
You know,
no,
and it's fascinating. It's really fascinating, because out the other end of the machine comes this amazing music.
Yeah.
But how they're thinking about it and how they're relating to it is so vastly different. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, I think it's just so incredible that I cannot imagine like composing for a musical. I can't. I mean, maybe someday that'll
you
happen.
Totally can.
Okay,
yeah, you totally can.
Okay,
I know you can.
Sign me up.
Yeah, no, I know you can. You know what I think you would appreciate about it, that I think is something that I think you have to have done what we've done for a bunch of years to really like get to this place. But like, writing a musical is just writing 5 or 6 songs and then chopping them up.
Oh, interesting.
And spreading them out. you know,
Yeah.
and being able to let go of them in that way, being able to continue to revise them. But it's really like 5 or 6 themes, and then you just sort of like spread them out. So it's like we've been working on these little hand-sized jewels,
Yeah.
you know, for years.
Yeah.
And then a musical is like just a mural, and it's like a side of a building in pencil, and it stays in pencil for years and years and years, and you know, gets painted the night before it's supposed to be shown.
Wow.
And everything is in motion and larger and moving, but like you'd really like, it's really like write 5 or 6 songs and then spread them out. And like we as singer-songwriters, we never use reprise. Like we never do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like wouldn't it be cool if you opened the show with like soda water and then at the end you brought back that chorus?
Yeah.
After you'd had this whole other show in between, wouldn't that sit a little differently?
Yeah.
Like we never do that as singer-songwriters, and that's what musical theater is. It's this like reprise and theme.
That's really cool. I feel like I got to sit in on a minute of one of your classes.
Listen, here's a
I go to Brown now.
here's a way less high-minded thought. I'm going to give you your last question. It's a short one.
Okay.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to bring to a potluck?
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to go with the last thing I brought to a potluck, which I think I'm going to get the name of it right, is tsimis. It's like a Jewish dessert that's like you stew a bunch of, it's like sweet potatoes, carrots, prunes, apples, orange juice, honey, cinnamon,
Amazing.
maybe some salt and peppers. It's really good. It's like sour and sweet and like filling and warm and yeah,
Oh, that sounds amazing.
saucy. In like
sounds amazing.
the literal way. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
bring it
Yeah.
next time.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you your last question here. Okay, it's a pretty generic question. Like, when did you know, if you do know, that you needed to devote your life to art?
Do you ever listen to that podcast, Les Culturistas?
No.
Oh, listen to it.
Okay.
It's Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers,
Okay.
and it's like listening to another language because it's a little bit like young millennial slang parsed with like gay male culture.
Yeah.
So you start to paw your way through it sometimes to figure out what they're saying, but the tone of it is quite funny. But they ask this same question, is their sort of like regular question that they ask all their guests. What was the culture you saw that made you know that culture was for you? And so I've just been like binging and listening to all these great artists like talk about that moment. But I think for me, like I saw Ani DeFranco play at the Orpheum Theater in the fall of 1996. I had just moved to Providence from my little town in Virginia, and my like freshman year friends, which are not the regular friends you're going to have the rest of college, like they were like, let's get on the bus from Providence and let's go up to see Ani. And I had never seen her before. I just had like cassette tapes from friends. And watching her do that night, I just was like, I have to do this.
Wow.
It just was like, it was so clear to me. And, another podcast we can talk about like heroes, good or bad. But that moment, was so striking to me and so immediate and truly, I would have just turned 19, so I was also fertile for it.
Yeah.
Less likely that at 47 I'm gonna
Yeah.
Trying to like figure out what's next. But that was that moment where I was like, okay, I have to do this. And part of it, I'm sure, was also like being at college, which was like a very expensive, very far away, like prestigious college. So like I'm supposed to like make something of myself there, and I thought I was going to be a scientist and blah blah blah. But then I saw that show, and it was November 23rd, 1996.
Wow.
And I wrote a song called November 23rd.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know if
about
I've ever heard
night.
that one.
No,
Okay.
no. It predates even when we knew each other.
Okay.
I don't think I would have ever even brought it to anything we were making in the years we were making stuff together. But yeah, that's how I remember that night and that day. And it was just very, very clear to me. What about you?
That's amazing. I guess it was, I think I was also 19 when I was I was doing a semester abroad in Kingston, Jamaica, and I had just started writing songs because Gabe was my suite mate, and he would like taught me some
Gabriel Unger, our first manager.
He's in that.
How we met.
Yeah, he's in that Japanese footage. It's really funny
wow.
to see. But I had a couple guitar chords, and I was already really into writing short stories. Like that had been my thing in high school. And I stumbled into getting to perform at this like dub poetry. It was almost like an open mic, but they had like a band. It was really, really cool. And it was all these kind of really established Jamaican artists. I don't know why they let me like come do my songs there. They were just like very kind. But I played like one of my songs, and I played a Carol Noonan song. Remember that band Knots and Crosses? Yeah. Okay. So because I only really had like one song of mine, and I knew her song, and I was like, this is it. I was like on stage singing for people. They were like getting something out of it. I was like, this is how I can connect to the world. Like I never felt anything like that. I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing.
God, I love that. I love that. We have to wrap up.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too. Let's not wait. I don't know how many years it's been since I've seen your face.
Well,
in person.
Think you stayed at my house at some point.
I did.
You had a gig and you were here.
Yeah.
But that might have been 10 years ago.
Yeah. I think it was.
Yeah.
Not appropriate podcast conversation, but I can remember like specific things I learned from you then that I'm still like getting mileage out of. So belated
cool.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good luck with your pod.
Yeah. Thanks.
Wait, I have one. Before we shut it off, I have one thing I need to ask you to do. Could we quickly send your fax?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the questions?
No. Wait.
Oh, okay.
No. Okay. I don't know if I got.
Oh, I sent you this thing that was like everybody has to send a fax to somebody. I'm gonna explain. I'll do it as if you. Don't worry.
Oh no! I remember you saying everyone has to send you a fax, but then I wasn't sure what came after it. Like I don't.
Oh, there was a thing that was pasted. It's fine.
Crud!
No. This
Okay.
is good. This is good.
Okay.
Spontaneous.
Okay.
Improv.
Okay.
All right.
Yes,
Jess
and
Klein.
okay.
Yes, and
Yes, and
all right, Jess Klein. On the Facts of Life, we ask everybody to send a fax. You can send a fax to anyone before, alive, dead, before, now, in the future. You can send a fax to whoever you like, right? And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill out the cover sheet. Do you remember the cover sheets of faxes?
Vaguely.
All right, so it's okay. I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
So now I have thrown this at you without any prep. So this is going to be like truly like the like Proustian questionnaire at the end of the magazine where you just answer it.
Okay.
Right. So who are we sending this fax to?
Da Vinci.
Great. Do you know Da Vinci's number?
Yes.
Okay, good. We won't give it out because we know he's private, but I'll put that on the sheet.
Okay.
When are you sending this fax? Because remember, we're filling out the cover sheet.
Okay. December 10th, 1489.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Okay.
How many pages is your fax? These are just the mundane questions of the fax cover sheet.
It's It's 2 pages.
Does that include the cover sheet? Or no.
God, no. Okay,
Do you
so
remember
it's
these
3
questions?
pages. Yeah.
Do you remember these terrible questions when you would send a fax? Okay. What is the subject line?
How did you do it?
Okay.
Okay.
And these are yes or no questions at the end of our cover sheet. Is it urgent?
Yeah.
Is it, do you want to reply?
Yes.
Is it confidential?
Not for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we filled out the cover sheet, and now it's time to send our fax to Da Vinci. What's your message?
How did you have the time to think about all the things you thought about and record them all and learn all the things you learned? And I guess I have a second question, which is, what was it like being gay in Italy we're watching.
What?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the 1400s.
Oh my God, what a worthy fax. Okay, we're going to send it. I'll put the little fax sound in now.
Okay.
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 It's been sent.
Oh my God, I'm so...
It's been sent.
They couldn't have done that without you.
Yeah, this is the real reason for the podcast. Gosh, what a good question. Is that a question you've had for a long time?
No, we've been watching a documentary about him. There's a Ken Burns, Da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like, how to be an artist, to learn that much in one lifetime, to record all your thought. Like, was that uncomfortable to have that many questions and to be thinking about so many things and seeing all those connections? Or was it like we look at that and are like, oh, thank goodness he left us this or whatever? But what was it like to live inside that? Was it too much? Was it like...
Right. And all we have is this like weird like outline.
Yeah.
Of a thing. I mean, it's really amazing. We have like the outline of a life, but we don't have the like day-to-day piece of it. So thank God we sent that fax.
I know.
So I'll let you know when he replies.
Thank you. This is great.
I'll scan it and email it to you.
Oh,
you're the best.
What a
Thank you
service.
for doing that little extra thing.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
I rarely have guests, and so it's really nice and I make them all send a fax, so it's really nice.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah.
All right, it's 2 minutes past when you got to go.
Okay. Oh shit, I got to go to therapy.
No, I truly love you.
I
Thank
love you so much. Okay.
Okay, let's not wait 10 years.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's email about how we'll put this together or how we want to do it or whatever.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, just send me files and then we'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk. Okay. Arrivederci. Bye.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
On the morning of Christmas, a crisis came to be, a fire in the living room tree. On the morning of Christmas, a crisis came to be, Preston's new pronouns and a fire in the living room tree. On the morning of Christmas, a crisis came to be, 3 unexpected guests, Preston's new pronouns, and a fire in the living room tree. On the morning of Christmas, a crisis came to be, 4 uncles joking, 3 unexpected guests.
Jess Klein's Big Table is produced by me, Jess Klein, and recorded on the traditional lands of the Lumbee, Chiraw, Catawba, Saponi, Occaneechi, Eno, and Shakori people. If you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you did, please subscribe, please like, and please share it with your people. You can find out more about my upcoming tour dates and musical releases at jessklein.com or on my Substack. Talk to you soon.